Hi everyone, my name is Tori. This is Novel Life. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a Is It Worth the Read video. Because I've been pretty on top of reading new releases this year, I wanted to sit down and just talk about some of the new releases that I've read over the last month or so and tell you if I think that they're worth the read to you, whether I think you should just pass on them, or if I think that, yes, you definitely need to pick these up ASAP because they were amazing. Before we dive into the video, though, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is BetterHelp. So you guys know I talk about my mental health a lot here on my channel. I'm very open about my mental health, where I am, how I'm doing, especially in my vlogs. I give mental health updates pretty often, and I love to talk about mental health because if I am open about my mental health, hopefully that means that you can be too, and that you can reach out to someone, a friend, a therapist, anything like that, and get the help that you need in whatever that may be. Now, I'm someone who I do take a medication for my anxiety every single day because I just need that. And I also do talk to a therapist on occasion when I feel like I just need a little bit extra help to work through what I'm going through in life, with work, with anything, my career, just anything that's going on in my head. I will sit down and talk to a therapist about it. Now, I have used BetterHelp in the past and I really like it because, one, it is so convenient. What I love about therapists is that not only will they just listen to what you're going through, but they can help you see things from a new perspective that you may not have thought about. And they can give you like a lot of advice and techniques that will make like positive changes in your life, which I am all for all the time. Like I said, BetterHelp makes it so easy to talk with a therapist really at any time. You can talk to them via phone call, texting or chatting, and or video call. Once you fill out the questionnaire, you'll be matched with a therapist within like a couple of days. That's usually the time frame that they give you. What I love about BetterHelp is that if you want to switch therapists, which may happen, that it doesn't cost anything to you. You can switch at any time whenever you feel like maybe you're not vibing with one therapist and you want to try a different perspective or anything like that. And I love that because not always will you vibe with that person. And that's why I love BetterHelp, because you can switch at any time. BetterHelp has over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, which is very high in my opinion, but BetterHelp is a platform that you can trust. If you click the link in the description box below, you can get 10% off with my code, your first month of therapy with BetterHelp. So thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video, and let's dive into all the books that I have to talk about today. So I have read a lot of new releases, and I have my ratings that are all over the place for all of these books, I'll tell you. Like literally, I have read books over the last month and a half, maybe 2 months, and my rating's been all over the place. 5 stars, DNFs, 2 stars, all of that. So let's go ahead and dive in. I have about 10 books to talk about. That's a lot. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. First one is Releasing 10. I feel like I've talked about this a decent amount. It is one of my favorite books that I've read this year. I did this like 4.5, 5 stars. I personally love Chloe Walsh's writing. I'm a fan of her writing. I think that she can write really emotional characters really, really well. And I just love that they're going through their day-to-day life and that we connect with them and we can see and get that insight. And I just feel like these characters were truly living in Ireland in the early 2000s. Like, I seriously mean that. Now, talking about mental health, Lizzie in this book goes through a very, very, very long journey with mental health. You see her at 3 years old, where she first kind of notices, well, her parents first kind of notice that maybe something is different about her and that she needs help and stuff like that. And you see her life from, I think, the age of 3 up until 16, if I'm not mistaken. Now, this book does end on a cliffhanger. There is no HEA in this book or Happy for Now. It does end like pretty abruptly and you're like, oh my god, I need more. But I did love this book. I love the talk about mental health. Lizzie is such a resilient character. Now, I do feel like some people read this book and be like, this is way too much, this is too dark for me, the matter and the content is too much, and that's totally fine. Like, honestly, I want people to be able to read this book when they're in a safe and like good mental health space, because it is very dark. Now, it took me 4 days to read this book, and while I literally devour all of Chloe Walsh's books, this one, it was heavy and I needed to take my time with it, and I'm so glad I did. I love this book. It was so good, so thick, so long, but so worth it. And yeah, this is definitely one I would say if you haven't even started the Boys of Tommen series, if you read the trigger warnings with all the books and see if they're for you and dive into them, because these books have like literally changed my life for the better. And I love them. I love the story. I love everything that Chloe Walsh has created with this series. Another new release that I recently read was Rewind It Back by Liz Town 40. So this is the last, I think it's the 5th and final book in the Windy City series. Now, I really love this series because it follows not only like this found family, it's this group of friends and they're all finding love and stuff like that, but it also involves different sports. So you see hockey, you see baseball, you see, oh my gosh, is it only hockey and baseball? I feel like, and basketball. The second book is basketball. And this book is the final book, but it goes back to hockey because the first book was about hockey as well. So you see the hockey team, you see the found family, you see everything like that. Now, this is a second chance romance between our characters who, when they were younger, they kind of had a like secretive thing and they were keeping it a secret from her brother. And then when he kind of went off to college, she went off to college, things kind of like separated and stuff. I ended up giving this like 4.5 stars. I think I landed at a true like 4 stars. I did discuss this book with my Patreon and we had a really good discussion about it and we were all around the same rating. I think this whole series is so good. My favorite is still Caught Up. I just love a single dad romance and that one had that. And I just think the found family in this whole series is so damn good. Like, I don't think I've given a book less than 4 stars in the series. They've all been 4.5, or 5 stars for me. And I would suggest this if you love a good sports series with different sports that follow like a found family and stuff like that. So yeah, I did love the hero. I loved her female character. I like that you can see the change between them from when they were younger to when now that they're older, they're more mature, they can have open and honest conversations, and I really, really love that about Liz Tomforty's writing. The next one I read was Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I loved this book, okay? I vlogged me reading this book, and I wasn't gonna buy a physical book until after I read it, but I listened to the audiobook, and I fell in love with this story. This is the perfect summer book. They are going to a wedding while our female character, her brother is getting married in Italy, and she is invited with the wedding party to go over there to prepare. I think it's about 2 weeks before the actual wedding to do all the things. And you see she comes face to face with her brother's best friend, Connor, who she hasn't talked to in 10 years. So there are flashbacks in here, but I actually think that Ali Hazelwood did the flashbacks really, really well, because I think that with this one, you're getting the flashbacks to like 3 years ago and it counts down. And you see that he was there for her when her brother was like on a flight that's like 24 hours long or something like that. Like he could not answer the phone or anything. And she was going through this crisis and he just like started to be there for her and started caring for her. Yes, there is an age gap. He is 15 years older than her, but I literally like the conversations in this book were so good. I always love a good wedding romance anyway. Like if the romance is around when a wedding is happening, I love that. But this was like perfect. They're in Italy. They're spending the summer there. They're doing all these fun things. They're having conversations. They're also sneaking around a little bit. And yeah, I loved it. I think if you are a woman going through a crisis of like what you're doing with your life, you could kind of relate to our female character in this because she's also going through that. But I really love this one. A book that did not work for me that came out on July 1st actually is Save Me by Mona Caston. So this is actually the first book that has been translated from the Maxton Hall series. So if you have heard of Maxton Hall, it is an Amazon Prime TV show and it's originally in German. The book is originally in German. I think it's German, but it has now been translated to English and they released the first book. Now I did a whole video over on my Patreon where I read this book and I watched Maxton Hall in its entirety, like the season 1, and I compared like what I liked better about if I liked the book better, if I liked the TV show better, and like how it matched up. I gave this book 2 stars. I personally think that the translation of this wasn't done in the best way, and I don't know if that was like the original and they just literally translate it word for word, but for me, I didn't like the being in her head as a female character. I felt very anxious being in her head when I was reading this. it just did not work for me. I felt like it followed the TV show. The TV show followed the book really, really well. Well, at least the English adaptation, like at least this English translation, it did follow it really well. I just feel like the characters had like a different take on like how they actually are, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, this one just did not work for me. Another one that did not work for me that I actually ended up DNFing is Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. When I tell you I was all over the place with my ratings for these new releases, I have no idea what was going on. But yeah, I DNF'd Caught Up. Now, I talk about Lights Out pretty often. I loved Lights Out. I thought it was so new, so different. The audiobook was so good. And I tried listening to the audiobook of this one. And we do see who the characters are. Well, at least the hero of Caught Up, Nico. You see him at the end of Caught Up, like certain things that happen with the characters, he comes into play. And so I was interested because this is supposed to be more mafia, like he's in the mafia, he's part of the mafia family, he's I think the youngest son of a mafia boss. And you see that there's all this stuff going on. Our female character, she is a sex worker, she does like an OnlyFans type thing, that's how she makes her money. And I just felt like this was very boring. I think I got like 35 or 40 something percent in, and I was bored as hell with this book. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I DNF'd it. And I usually, if I make it 50%, I usually keep going, even if I'm not liking it, because I want to count it on Goodreads. But I was like, I'm not about to spend the rest of my day listening to this book when I'm not liking it. The Mafia was like trying to be Mafia, but she didn't want to actually dive in. I felt like he didn't have any substance. Like he was just like not really, no personality. I also did not feel any connection between them two. Like it is supposed to be like they had something when they were younger, and something happened with his family that kind of like pushed her out a little bit. That's the vibe I was getting. And I just felt like they had no connection now. Like he's supposed to be kind of like her biggest fan, like her number one supporter from the beginning. And while like I love the sex positive part of it, of her being a sex worker and like talking about that, I just felt like they have no connection. So I'm like, as a romance, why am I reading it? So I DNF'd it. Did not work for me. I've heard a lot of people did not like this book either. So that's pretty unfortunate because I really liked Lights Out. A book that I actually really loved was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this was our Leave It to the Pros book club pick for June. I run Leave It to the Pros book club with Christy from Christy Reads a Lot. We always pick a historical fiction book, either a backlist or a new release. And June, we picked this new release. And I really loved this. Now, we all had like mixed kind of feelings about the ending of this book. And if you've read it, you know I'm not going to say anything. But you literally have to read to the last, like, I don't know, 6 lines of this book. And it really did shock me the way that it went. I just really liked the talk about, this queer woman living in the 80s, being a part of like the NASA program, finding love, having a relationship with her sister and that relationship with her niece, and her taking on this like motherly role for her. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a really good book. I love the audiobook. The narrators are fantastic. It is, oh my God, Rose Oreo, I think, and Julia Whalen. Those two, oh my God, so good. So yeah, I would highly recommend this. It is not my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I think Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is at the top and will always be at the top for me, but this was pretty up there and I really enjoyed the read. Like I listened to it in like 24 hours and I loved it. The next one I read was Bourbon and Proof by Victoria Wilder. So this is the third and final book in the Bourbon Boy series. It follows a group of brothers. It's 3 brothers. They run this bourbon distillery in Kentucky, and you see that they've had their own romance. This is the oldest Ace's story, and you've seen the couple, like Ace and our heroine, throughout the whole series. Like she flirts with him, calls him daddy, all that stuff. Like she pokes fun at him, and there's like a marriage of convenience in this book, which I didn't mind. I love this whole series. I think they're so amazing. The second book, which is A Single Dad, is my favorite in the series, but I ended up giving this 4 stars. I think this whole series is definitely worth the read, especially if you love romantic suspense or if you love like a little bit of suspense with your romance. It's definitely good. It has all the small town vibes, all the chemistry, the spiciness, all of that. Like the chemistry between all the couples is amazing and I loved it. I love the found family aspect. I love the small town meddling. I really enjoyed it. I also thought the bourbon distillery was so different because like being in Kentucky, you think, oh, this is going to be so boring, but they own this distillery and it's very profitable and they have a lot of stuff going on with that. So I really did like that one. Another one that I read is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. So I've talked about Ashley Poston a lot on my channel and I really, really love her stuff. But this one I ended up giving 3.5 stars. I thought it was very mid. And that makes me really disappointed because like I said, I've given a lot of Ashley Poston's book 5 stars. But this one, it was interesting because it's like musicians. Our female character, she is going back home. Her mother has either dementia or Alzheimer's, and it's very, very early stages. So she still remembers her and all that stuff like that. It's just like she'll forget to turn the oven on and put something in there. It's like little like things like that. So if that's triggering for you, I would say it's not as intense as like Can't Get Enough by Candy Ryan or Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I will say it's on the lighter side, but I felt like the romance was lacking a little bit. Like she wanted to put this emphasis on her family and what her family's going through, which I don't mind in the slightest. But I felt like the romance was like kind of lacking. Like I said, they're both musicians. They can talk to each other through their heads. And I thought it was interesting, but it didn't like pack a punch like some of her other books. So I ended up giving that one 3.5 stars. Another book that I DNF'd is The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. So I recently just posted a vlog where I read this and the next 2 books I'm going to talk about. So if you've already watched that vlog, you already know my feelings. But this is a romantasy like enemies to lovers, and I DNF'd it about like 60 pages in. I did not like the writing of this book. And not every author is going to be for everyone, and that's totally fine. But this book just did not work for me. Like, oh my God, no. I did not like the writing. I did not vibe with it. I couldn't get into it. I didn't like the characters. Now, I will say that it it is said in the back on this arc that he has a degenerative disease, but the blurb on Amazon and Goodreads just say that he's sick. And I think that is a very like different distinction of having a degenerative disease that's literally like life or death for you over time versus just being like sick. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they changed anything in the published version, but there's a point in this book where they have like their second interaction. I think she assesses him because she's a healer, and he goes to her as like, hey, can you help me? And she assesses him and basically is like, no, you have this disease, like it's just getting worse, like prepare for death basically. And I'm like, whoa, like as someone who does have a degenerative disease, I was like, that's a little harsh. So I just was getting the ick from this book and it was not for me, so I DNF'd it. But like I said, I go into a lot more of my thoughts in that vlog. I also read Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair, and I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. This was the star of that reading vlog. I loved this. This is more of like an urban fantasy set book, and I just devoured it. So our female character, her name is Lilith, but I don't know if it is a like reimagining of the myth or the story about Lilith. I don't really know the story about Lilith, so I had nothing to compare. But you see our female character, she comes from one of like the 5 or 6 districts, and her family is like very religious, like they're all about religion, and I love to talk about religion in this book. But our female character, you see that her father is wanting her to marry her off because she has magic, and in this world women only have magic, and then once they get married off, like their husbands can kind of like use that magic to whatever they want. So clearly we have like in this book, Lilith is basically saying fuck patriarchy in this kind of sense, and I really like that. But she goes to this other district, and she's under the protection of the head of that district. I think his name is Zarev. I'm probably pronouncing it horribly wrong, but I haven't listened to the audiobook, so I haven't like really heard how it sounds like. But I love this. It is a slow burn romance. It's forbidden. It ends on a cliffhanger, so this is the start of a series, and I was blown away by the ending of that book. Oh my god, I loved it. It was such a good read. I highly suggest this one if you're a romantasy girly. Pick up this romantasy. The last book I have to talk about is Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. So I actually recently finished this book, and I did struggle with this a little bit. Now this is a Hermione fanfic that was called The Auction. They took it down off of AO3. They took all the Harry Potter lore out, completely changed it with the world building, the character names, the magic, all of that, and now it is traditionally published. Now, I understand with that, it comes with a lot of work, but I felt like the beginning of the book was very info dumpy, and I liked the ending, but I wasn't like obsessed with this book that I was hoping that I would be. So I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, which really makes me sad because I love Julie Soto's contemporary romances. Like I've given both of her contemporary romances that I've read 5 stars. And I just felt like because this was a Hermione fanfic that she had to take away everything, that you were missing something. Like it was just missing something, and I don't know what it is. Like going into any Hermione fanfic, you have, if you know anything, you know who won the war, who lost the war, you know the characters, you know the magic, you know all of that. Now, I have not read Harry Potter, so I really don't know anything, but I felt like it was just missing, and it was just a lot of info, and it was slow with the romance. Like, I don't know if I would actually call this a romance, because it's like only one-sided a little bit, and there's not really any clear definition of line with him where he stands. So yeah, I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. Like, is it the worst thing I've ever read? No, absolutely not. But is it the best thing? No. And I was hoping that would be good. Now, will I be continuing on with the series? Yes, absolutely. I do want to know what happens in the second book because it does end on a cliffhanger, but we have to wait a little bit of time, and I don't know when it's going to come out. So those are all of the new releases that I've read, and whether or not I think you should pick them up. These are my opinions, what I thought about them, my ratings, and all of that. And if you made it this far and you want to let me know, leave me a red heart emoji in the comments down below if you've made it this far. Once again, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is BetterHelp. Make sure you check out the link in the description box below to save 10% on your first month of therapy, because we love being mentally healthy and sometimes you need a little help, and that's okay. But thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content from me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.